And what are we doing? So, let's see, what case are you folks here for?
I've got Corey Holt and Evan Blake.
5 and 8.
Okay, 8. And what about you?
Number 3.
All right, number 3. And what about you?
Ariel Barber.
Number 1.
Number 1. Do you want, anybody got it? You care if Miss Eustace goes first? Since she has one case? Okay. All right, Evan Blake. And then you've got one case too, right? Yeah, let's see, and that's. Yeah, okay. If you raise your right hand for me, you swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am. I do.
All right, if you state your name, spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Captain Mfon Essien. First name is Mfon. Last name is Essien.
All right, I'll be out here in just a second.
Can you pronounce your last name for me?
Essien.
Essien? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear everything okay, Madam Court Reporter?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Eustace, if you tap that microphone, I don't know, sometimes it's not working. Like, okay, it's working good.
Judge, may I have just 1 second to
Yes.
explain something? Thank you.
While she's talking to her client, this is position 823 CP 217593, 66 days without indictment. It's unlawful to knowingly remove, destroy, circumvent operation of electronic monitoring device as required. Just let us know when you're ready, Ms. Eustace.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're ready.
All right. Go ahead. What says the state?
1 second. Okay. Morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you, ma'am. And your day?
Hanging in there, living the dream.
Understood.
Where are you currently employed?
Fulton County Sheriff's Office. I'm assigned to drug court, the accountability court.
Okay. And how long have you been working there?
Full-time, past 2 years. Part-time officer since 2004.
Long time.
A long time.
Okay. All right. Were you employed there on or about April 6, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how did you become aware of the defendant?
Evan Blake was a client, a participant in the drug court program. Let me make sure, let me check my notes. He came in and had an ankle monitor placed on his ankle by investigator Don Coggins on the 4th of April, 2023.
Okay. Do you know what the ankle monitor was placed on there for?
To monitor him, to make sure he did not go to certain locations that are affiliated with drugs, and also to make sure that he maintained his curfew, which is from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., 7 days a week.
And with that curfew, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., is he required to be at home?
Yes, ma'am, he is.
So he's not permitted to be outside of the home during those hours?
That's correct.
Okay. You stated the ankle monitor was fitted April 4th, 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what happened on or about April 6th, 2023?
I'll make a lengthy explanation very short. With the ankle monitor itself, it's an electronic GPS tracking device. Say it works something similar to someone's home security system. It sends out information just like your security system would at home. Once it is triggered, the monitor itself is damaged, or the strap that holds the monitor to the leg is cut or damaged, it sends out an alert. It sends the alert to the computer system. which is monitored by Scramnet monitoring system. Scramnet sends an alert to our email system or our cell phones that tell us that a tamper has taken place or the ankle monitor has been damaged.
Is each officer assigned to a certain defendant or a certain ankle monitor?
No, ma'am. We all have access to the Scramnet monitoring system, so all of us can see the alert when it goes out, and that's only the investigators, the deputy sheriffs that are assigned to drug court.
Okay, so you received an alert.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you received the alert, you stated it came to your email.
Correct.
And it specified what?
Tamper.
Okay,
Basically, tamper means that the monitor has been damaged or the strap itself that holds the monitor to the client, the participant's leg, has been cut off.
okay. And did you perform a subsequent investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what did you learn from that?
We went to the location. The location where the tamper took place was 532 Cleveland Avenue in Atlanta.
Is that in Fulton County?
That is in Fulton County, Georgia.
Okay.
We went to that location. It is an apartment complex. At that point, the ankle monitor battery itself went dead, and we could not locate that monitor.
When an ankle monitor battery dies,
Yes, ma'am.
does that indicate an alert for tampering?
No, it sends out an alert that the battery itself is dead. Each drug court client, once we place the monitor on their person, on their body, they're given instructions to charge the monitor twice a day for 2 hours. So every 12 hours, they have to electronically charge their ankle monitor by putting the charging cord into any wall socket, hook that charging cord up to the monitor, and it will charge.
If someone is homeless, is there a way for them to come charge an ankle monitor either at your station or with the probation officer? Do they have another way to charge it?
Very good question. Drug court, the accountability court, if a person comes in that is indigent or homeless, the court itself will find housing for them. So that person at that point is not residentially challenged or homeless.
So
They have a location where they can go and charge their device properly.
So your office and or
Fulton County
probation
Superior-
officers or
Yes.
Fulton County officers
Yes, ma'am.
have made it so that whatever happens, you can come charge this ankle monitor.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And you stated that when you get an alert for tampering, that's not the same alert you get for the battery being charged.
Correct.
So if you've gotten an alert for tampering, I believe you said cut and or removed.
Cut and or remove, or the monitor itself is damaged, striking it with a hammer, striking it with a crowbar, physically trying to damage the monitor itself to remove it from the leg.
Are defendants told that they cannot remove their ankle monitor?
And at that point, when they're told, they're also given information, if they damage that monitor, cut the strap, they will be charged under 16-7-29, which is a felony because the monitor itself is valued at over $600.
Okay. So you got an alert regarding this defendant and damaging and or tampering with his monitoring device, and you said you performed a subsequent investigation.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you learn from that?
Could not find the monitor. And at that point, Mr. Evan Blake had absconded from the drug court program. We could not find him also. A warrant was put out for absconding or being AWOL from the program. I put out a warrant for damaging that ankle monitor, for destroying the ankle monitor. So at that point, 2 warrants were issued for Evan Blake.
Okay. This 532 Cleveland address, you said that was an apartment complex. Is that Mr. Blake's residence?
No, ma'am, that's a known drug area.
Okay. But the last location you got from the
Ankle
monitor
itself did ping
at
that
that.
location.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's not his residence.
That is not his residence.
But to your knowledge, was he supposed to stay away from that area?
The clients are given stairway locations, Cleveland Avenue, Polo Rock, The Bluff, certain areas where we know that drugs are accessible, even 5 points. The 5 points Martyr Station is a no-go zone.
Okay, what time did you get, and if you need to look at your
I am.
warrant or your report, what time did this ankle monitor tampering, did you get the notice?
I have on here April the 6th, 2023 at around 21:17 hours, which would be 9:17 p.m.
Okay. And I just want you to clarify for the court what you're looking down at.
I'm looking at the affidavit of arrest that I took out on Mr. Evan Blake.
Okay. So you stated previously that curfew was between 9 p.m.
Correct.
and 6 a.m.
Each day.
Each and every day,
Yes,
7
ma'am.
days a week.
As long as they have that monitor on them. Yes, ma'am.
And this monitor was tampered with at 9:17 p.m.,
Correct.
17 minutes after curfew time,
Correct.
at a location where he was not supposed to be.
Correct.
Did you ever get a picture of the defendant or see him?
Yes. Yes, I know Evan Blake, and I do have a picture of him from the Odyssey, our Odyssey system, jail system. Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Would you recognize him?
Yes.
Is he in the courtroom presently?
Yes, Evan Blake is sitting at the defense table to my left wearing Fulton County blue jail uniform.
Okay.
No, I would object. The witness was looking at the photo as he was looking at my client and did an up and down look to review if that was the right person he was set to identify.
Your Honor, I don't know what he was looking at. I mean, I thought he was looking at words on the page. Frankly, I didn't think it was a picture.
We're looking at words. What are you,
I am looking at his mugshot. Yes, ma'am.
did you have to see that so that you could identify him?
No, ma'am. But I'm just being 100% certain that the person on this picture, the person sitting over there, is Evan Blake.
But did you need that to verify it was?
No, ma'am, I did not need that to verify.
Okay. Thank-
I've met Evan Blake many times. On his last arrest, I took him into custody. I put the cuffs on him, took him to 901 Rice Street.
Okay. Overall, thank you.
You just stated that you've met Evan Blake plenty of times. You've taken him into custody.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times would you say you've interacted with him?
10, 15
Oh, okay, over 10.
at drug court.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know Mr. Blake,
I know Mr. Blake.
and the person in the courtroom that you identified, that is Mr. Blake.
That is Mr. Blake. That
That's
is
the
Evan
person you've
Blake.
been interacting with.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you swore out a warrant, you charged Mr. Blake, or Mr. Blake's been charged with unlawful to knowingly remove, destroy, circumvent operation of electronic monitoring device as required, which is a felony. What was your probable cause basis for that charge?
The fact that that ankle monitor GL 1000 BKQ had been tampered with and could not be found. And that specific monitor, GL 100 BKQ, was attached to Evan Blake. It's in our ScramNet system. Each monitor, just like a cell phone, has an individual ID number. This particular ankle monitor was assigned to Mr. Evan Blake and put on his ankle. Once it was tampered with and removed, that was my probable cause to take out a warrant.
Okay, did you ever at any time speak to Mr. Blake as to why he removed his ankle monitor?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Were you ever provided any information later as to maybe why his ankle monitor was removed?
He never explained that at that time when I took him into custody.
Is there anything else that you learned during your investigation that we've not covered here today?
No, ma'am, I don't believe so.
Okay, all right, nothing further.
Ms. Eustace?
Good morning. I just have a couple of questions for you. I know you used the term that you determined he had absconded. When, after how much time was that determined?
At that point, when the ankle monitor was removed and he did not appear at drug court, A warrant was put out for being AOL, absent without leave, or absconding from the program.
Did he have a court date that he was supposed to show up? Because you said he did not appear to drug court.
At drug court, basically, he has to come in and take a urine sample and or come in and attend his classes or attend a session with his case manager and or clinician. And he did not come in and attend any of those sessions.
And did you try to make contact with Mr. Blake at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have contact information for Mr. Blake?
I don't believe Mr. Blake had a cell phone.
Okay. I heard you say something about these stay away locations.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that part of a bond or a sentence, or how is that put into the record of the court or communicated to the client?
Through us as investigators, as law enforcement, since drug court is, it is a program that is set up for the offenders who have addiction issues. The court is aware of that. And because of that, we give them specific information on the areas of town that they should not go to because drugs can be purchased in that area. So there are stairway locations.
Is that order signed by a judge or anything telling them that?
No, ma'am, it is
Okay.
not.
And you said that you were aware of where Mr. Blake was living. Is that correct?
Mr. Blake was at a location called, it was a residential housing location called Hope House, which is 275 Washington Street in Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia.
How far is that from the Cleveland location where you, I guess, said the monitor was pinged?
Okay, Washington Street is right there at Memorial Drive. Where the ankle monitor pinged is Cleveland Avenue, right off Stewart Avenue or Metropolitan Parkway. Give 9 miles,
Okay.
12 miles.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Anything else for him? So you got one more case, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, go ahead with the argument.
Yes, Your Honor. I did not hear information about this officer being post-certified. Other than that, we would submit on the facts of this, on the evidence at the time, and ask to be heard on bond.
Your Honor, state would submit to the facts on this evidence. This officer has identified his credentials. I will concede, though, that I don't know that I specifically asked, was he post-certified? I do think, though, that probable cause has been established for this charge.
Yeah. I'll find probable cause. He's got a $5,000 good bond as of April the 12th. Wow.
This defendant has 43 arrest cycles in Georgia beginning in 2008. Felony convictions, 2011, 2015, 2016, all for possession of cocaine. Probation violations in 2008, 2013, 2016, 2017, 2018. Failure to appears in 2014, 2018, 2019, 2022, and 2023. Nothing further to report.
All right. Ms. Eustace, did they revoke anything on the drug court case, or did they let him back in?
Yes, Your Honor. He actually had court yesterday with Judge McBurney. There was a reset for 2 months to see what was going to happen today. He is set to potentially have to do RSAT as part of that drug court. That is at least what discussion was had yesterday.
Mhm.
Due to that, and that he will be in custody on those other two things for at least 2 months until his next court date with Judge McBurney. We'd be asking for a UJR on this. He does have 2 children. He's 41 years old and been in Georgia since 2007. Unfortunately, this case isn't going to be the only thing holding him in. He has other more serious things that he has to deal with, that drug court issue. My office is also representing him on that.
All right, go ahead.
Your Honor, the state would leave it to the court's discretion. I just would want to point out to the court, though, that this defendant does have multiple probation violations and multiple FTAs. However, I believe Ms. Hughes just mentioned that, is he currently enrolled in the RSAT program, or?
They held off on making a decision on whether RSAT was going to be ordered or if there was going to be another option to complete drug court, second chance, until this was handled, to see what would go on with this. And the reset date is about 2 months out.
Okay. As stated, the state would defer to the court's discretion on whether or not to lower a bond or not.
Well, what's your position on UJR?
The thing that concerns me is the multiple FTAs and probation violations. So I'm worried about him showing up here again. However, it seems as if there might be a substance abuse issue here. And if that's being addressed, you know, I don't know that I've had any assurances that, but it sounds like that's where that's going. So again, I would leave it to the court's discretion.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 532 Cleveland Avenue Southwest. $1,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. Okay, go ahead and bring the next one out here on that one. I think that's
Position 5.
Tariq Thomas.
Actually, I have a preliminary announcement, Mr. Thomas. We have filed an ex parte motion.
Okay, do you want to bring him out or just leave him?
We can leave
You
it.
have the order? Have you sent it to me?
I have not yet. I received an email from Judge Drake literally during the last hearing saying that she just signed the order. And so,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could forward you that email, but
No,
don't
I just
have the
didn't know if
order
you
yet.
sent it to me or whatever, because I usually return them. I didn't remember one. Okay, do you want to, so what do we need to do with this? Reset it?
Yeah, we need to reset it.
How long?
They're backed up there.
I know.
90?
Yeah, 90 days would be
Okay.
safe.
Like they're really backed up.
Miss,
Do you bring Mr. Thomas out?
do you want to bring him out?
No, I can speak with them.
Okay, all right, thank you. You have a good day. Stay safe. All
Thank
right,
you,
we'll
Your Honor.
reset this for 90 days. Miss Watts, what's the,
That would be September 15th, Judge.
oh, I can't hear you. Can you hear? I can't.
Thank you for coming by.
Okay, September 15th.
Thank you.
I still can't hear you, Miss Watts.
September
You heard that?
I
She
can't
said
hear you.
September 15th.
Hold on, I can't hear if somebody's talking.
He doesn't have anything. Yeah. Who do you need next, Your Honor?
Hold on a sec. What was that date, Embryo? I'm sorry.
September 15th at 9 a.m.
She
Something
said
15.
September 15th at 9 a.m.
September, okay, sorry, I can't, at 9 a.m. Is that good for you?
Thank you, Ms.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Anybody work overnight? Off? Hank, you're off? What case are you on again?
Michael Ralston.
All right, how about that one? Michael Ralston.
Michael Ralston.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Do we have a status on the officer for? No, he said he's off. Yeah, he's off today. I don't want to. Anything on the officer for position 2, Craig Meissen?
Sit right here for me in the second chair for me, sir, right here.
Yes. Ms. Patton, do we have anything on the officer for position 2, Craig Meissen?
I was just actually texting about that.
There's
So
investigator Paul's now.
she just walked in.
No, she's on the screen.
Oh. I was just texting about that. So I haven't heard, but I haven't really spoken, unfortunately, with investigator Pauls a lot, being that we, you know, are currently rocking.
All right, so the subpoena was sent out, Your Honor, but I don't feel like it was enough time. You know, APD got this 3-day,
Oh, it's just 3 days.
they got the 3-day rule. I think I'm looking at the subpoenas. I received them on Monday or a little bit before 12, but I'm almost certain I wasn't able to work on these subpoenas until Tuesday morning. So that wouldn't give APD their 3-day rule. It wouldn't be helpful to them. Although some of the officers did show up this morning, clearly the subpoenas went out and they were placed in the officer's box. But the officer on position 2, that's Anderson, Anderson, is not here. And those subpoenas went out along with the other officers who obviously showed up and did receive the subpoenas.
All right, so we'll finish this hearing, and then if he's not here, we'll bring your client out real quick, okay?
Thank you.
All right. So this one is Michael Ralston. It's position 4, 23 CP 217450. Michael Ralston, 72 days without indictment, criminal criminal damage to property, 2nd degree, felony obstruction. If you raise your right hand, officer, you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
You state your name, spell it for the court reporter.
It's going to be Police Officer Ruben Miranda. First name is going to be spelled Ruben. Last name is going to be spelled Miranda.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Thank you. Hi, Officer Miranda.
How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Doing well.
What police department where are you employed?
For the City of Atlanta Police Department,
Okay. And how long have you been employed there?
approximately 4 years.
Were you employed there on or about April 4th, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how did you come in contact with the defendant?
I came in contact with the defendant because he was in contact with another officer. Officer requested an immediate backup during his encounter, and then that's when I showed up to the scene.
Okay. And when you got to the scene, where did you arrive to?
I arrived to the point where they had just got Mr. Ralston in custody.
No, I mean the actual location.
Oh, I'm sorry about
Yeah.
that. It's
Okay.
going to be 2350 Cheshire Bridge Road Northeast.
Okay. And you're looking down now. Can you let the court know what you're looking down at?
I'm looking down at my report and the warrant affidavit.
Okay. And 2350 Cheshire Bridge Road, is that in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when you arrived on the scene, what did you see?
When I arrived on scene, I saw that the defendant was had some minor injuries. He was in custody, and I saw that my colleague, Officer Roland Jones, was holding his hand, complaining of injury.
He was holding whose hand?
His own hand, sorry.
Holding his hand and doing what?
Holding his hand because I guess his hand had got injured during the altercation with Mr. Ralston.
Oh, the officer.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The other.
Did you ever ask the officer, was he in fact injured?
Yes, I did.
And what was his response?
He stated he was injured, yes.
Did he state what happened?
He stated that, actually I have this report right here.
If you could just refresh your recollection and then answer the question instead, don't read from it.
Okay, I got you. So,
You can read it to refresh your memory though.
Read it.
okay, yeah,
Just
I want to read
testify.
it.
Yeah, you
Okay.
read it, then answer the question, but
Your Honor, may I remove my jacket?
sure.
Thank you.
If anyone else is hot, it's a little warm in here. Feel free.
I'm starting to think it's just me.
No, it's hot.
So the question was, how did I come in contact with the other officer, or what was your question?
The question is, you stated the officer indicated to you that he was injured, and I said, how did he indicate that to you?
Oh, okay. So I arrived on scene. He indicated that Mr. Ralston, he tried to get Mr. Ralston into custody, and a fight ensued amongst them, and that's how he injured his hand.
Did you take a look at his hand?
I did.
And what did you see?
Just a minor swelling.
A swelling?
Yeah.
Was it red?
Yes.
Did you see any bleeding?
No.
Okay. Swelling, how were you able to determine swelling?
Swelling, I mean, when the hand looks usually puffy.
Was it puffier than his other hand?
Yes.
Okay. Did he tell you if the defendant had struck him?
No, not at the moment. He told me that they were just in an altercation.
Okay. Did he tell you there was a tussle?
Yeah, he told me there was a tussle where once he began to put the handcuffs on Mr. Ralston, they went to the ground. Mr. Ralston landed on Officer Roland Jones' right hand. A fight ensued on the ground where Mr. Ralston and Roland Jones were engaging in a physical fight. He stated that Mr. Ralston was trying to pull on his belt and grab against his vest, pull it off. Just basically like a grappling match on the floor.
Okay.
On concrete.
Did he tell you why he was trying to arrest him?
He was trying to take Mr. Ralston into custody because we had received a call for service at 2350 Cheshire Bridge that Mr. Ralston was acting irate, and he had damaged the victim's phone while at 2350 Cheshire Bridge.
What victim?
This victim is going to be sorry, give me 1 second.
Oh, no, take your time.
Robert Plummer.
Okay, and please spell both names for the record.
Okay, so first name of the victim is Robert, Robert. Last name's gonna be Plummer, Plummer. MMER.
Okay. So you said he was trying to arrest him because because the other officer rather was told that a victim's phone was damaged?
Correct.
Okay. So did you ever speak to Mr. Plummer?
Yes, I conducted an interview with Mr. Plummer.
Okay. And what did Mr. Plummer let you know?
Mr. Plummer stated that he noticed that Mr. Ralston was homeless. He offered to buy Mr. Ralston some food from the McDonald's located at 2350 Cheshire Bridge. I guess this didn't please Mr. Ralston, and he got angry by something. So he then therefore grabbed Mr. Plummer's phone and slammed it on the ground, disabling it.
Where did that incident occur?
2350 Cheshire Bridge.
So we're still in Fulton County, same location?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever look at the phone?
Yeah, it was damaged. It was
Okay.
destroyed.
What type of phone was it?
A Samsung Galaxy,
Okay. And by damaged, how do you mean it was damaged?
no longer operable. Cracked screen, won't turn on. So
Did the victim ever indicate to you how much the phone was worth?
he couldn't really tell me which model it was or exactly the approximate value, but I would think that a Samsung Galaxy is worth more than $500.
Okay. Did you take a look at what Samsung Galaxies are priced at? Like, did you do your own research?
Yeah, I
on
did
it?
my own research, and it just depends on the model. Without knowing the model, he was an older male, so he couldn't really specify.
But the phone was inoperable.
Correct.
When you looked at all of the models of Samsung Galaxies, did you see if they matched what the phone you had seen was? Like, do they look the same?
Yes,
Okay.
and they can average anywhere between $450 to $900, depending on the model.
Okay, but the model you saw, what was that priced at?
Like I said, I couldn't specify which model is. I mean, a lot of the phones kind of look the same as the years go on. All
Okay.
that gets updated is the technology.
But the bottom is $450.
Yes,
Okay. And the top is $900.
correct.
Okay, so when you arrived on the scene and you saw Mr. Ralston on the ground, then what happened?
So Mr. Ralston had some minor injuries. He was in custody. We started EMS for him. We started EMS for the other officer. And he just seemed out of sorts. He couldn't really talk or explain what was going on, what his name was. So that's what happened when I got on scene.
Did you guys call for medical?
Yes, we called for medical assistance.
And did they treat Mr. Ralston?
Yes, they treated Mr. Ralston for minor lacerations
Where were those lacerations?
on his face.
Okay. And by minor lacerations, what do you mean? Like scratches?
Yeah, scratches, minor swelling, nothing too crazy. But he did have visible injuries. So,
Was he bleeding?
yes.
Okay. Was your body camera working at
Yes.
this time? Okay. And was that uploaded for evidence?
Yes, it's uploaded on evidence.com.
Okay. Did you, actually, I think you already stated this, correct me if I'm wrong, the other officer arrested Mr. Ralston, or you arrested him?
I arrested him. I ended up taking the case due to the fact that the other officer had to go to Piedmont Urgent Care.
Okay, so you arrested Mr. Ralston?
Correct.
Okay, did you read him his Miranda warnings?
No, I did not read him his Miranda warnings.
Did you ask him any questions after he was in custody?
No.
Okay. Are you post-certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you post-certified at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Ralston was charged with criminal damage to property in the second degree, which is a felony. What was your probable cause basis for that?
Probable cause basis was he had no consent from the victim to damage his phone. With general knowledge of me researching the value of the phone, I just decided about the medium price of about $600 to $650 for a Samsung Galaxy. Then again, model was not identified, so it was tough to say exactly with the victim not knowing what model his own phone was.
Okay. Have you seen a lot of Samsung Galaxies?
Briefly, I usually work with iPhone, but.
Okay, but you've seen that phone.
Correct.
Would you say you've seen over 20?
Over 20 Samsung Galaxies? Yeah.
Okay. In your knowledge, was the Samsung Galaxy model that you saw, was that a older or newer? And by older or newer, I mean like in the last 5 years.
Yes, within the last 5 years.
Okay. Mr. Ralston was also charged with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use of threats or violence, a felonious willful obstruction. And what was the probable cause basis for that?
The physical altercation with Roland Jones, police officer Roland Jones, that resulted in physical injury, and just a statement given to me by him that basically that they were fighting on the ground. Of an actual physical altercation ensued. Basically, Mr. Ralston was trying to grab on his duty belt, wrestle with him, and basically resist getting into custody until we couldn't get him into custody until the other officers arrived.
Did Officer Jones, I believe you said, did he ever indicate to you that Mr. Ralston had threatened him?
He didn't ever indicate that he had threatened him, no.
Was he indicate that he was yelling or?
He was just acting kind of aggressive, kind of a different manner than usual. We've made contact with Mr. Ralston before on different occasions, but he was just odd behavior this time, he stated.
Oh, so you've seen Mr. Ralston before?
I personally have not. Officer Roland Jones has.
Okay, and he is the one who told you that this was a different behavior?
Yes, he said that Mr. Ralston was just acting not his usual self.
Okay. Would you recognize Mr. Ralston?
Would I recognize Mr. Ralston? Yes.
Is he in the courtroom presently?
Yes.
Feel free to stand up if you like.
Please identify whether he is on my left or my right and identify him with an article of clothing.
Okay, he is going to be on your right-hand side. He's going to be a black, bald male with a long beard, wearing a Fulton County inmate outfit.
Okay. Please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Mr. Ralston.
All right, record will reflect.
Was there any video footage of this incident?
Roland Jones's, police officer Roland Jones's body cam.
Did you take a look at that?
No, I do not. I do not have access to that.
Do you know if that was submitted for evidence?
Yes, it is on axonevidence.com.
Okay. And by Axon, you mean the?
Our manufacturer for our body cams, yes.
Okay. Is there anything else you learned during your investigation that we have not covered here today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, nothing further.
All right, Cross.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So you had arrived at this location after the incident had already kind of quieted down.
Correct.
Other than Officer Jones, was anybody else involved in the arrest of Mr. Ralston?
There's a couple other officers that were helping get Mr. Ralston detained or in custody. SPO Abner, I believe, was the other officer there.
All right. Was SPO Abner also? No, I'll withdraw that question. I want to go back to the cell phone, actually. Was it you who spoke with Mr. Plummer?
It was me and Police Officer Jones.
All right, and this would have been after Mr. Ralston was already detained and arrested.
Correct. Mr. Ralston was already in our custody.
All right. Was your body camera operational at the time?
Yes.
All right. Is that body cam been entered into evidence, preserved?
Yes.
Did you speak with any other witnesses?
Yes, I spoke with a Miss Yolanda Batten. I can spell her name. First name's going to be Yolanda, Yolanda. Last name's going to be Batten, Batten.
And how is Miss Batten involved in this incident?
Ms. Batten is an employee at the McDonald's located at 2350 Cheshire Bridge. She stated she witnessed Mr. Ralston break Mr. Plummer, the victim's cell phone. And she stated that Mr. Ralston had been at the location all day harassing customers and causing issues.
Had she mentioned that she had seen Mr. Ralston before that day?
No, she did not mention.
And again, the breaking of the cell phone, that had occurred on April 4th. Is that right?
April 4, 2023, yes.
same day that he was arrested.
Yes.
Do you know if there was any surveillance footage that would have caught the interaction between Mr. Ralston and Mr. Plummer?
I personally do not know if McDonald's had any surveillance footage where the incident took place.
All right. So we don't know if there's any footage of the breaking of the phone.
As far as from the McDonald's, no.
All right. Was this inside the McDonald's?
It was in the outdoor patio seating area.
All right. Were there any other witnesses to the breaking of the cell phone?
No, sir.
Now, at what time did, I guess, the smashing of the cell phone occur?
We're looking at approximately 2 p.m.
And at what time did Officer Jones become involved in, finding and apprehending Mr. Ralston?
At approximately 2 p.m. Or generally right after that time, once he arrived on scene for the call for service.
Okay, so Mr. Jones had essentially arrived immediately afterwards?
No. So incident occurred. I can't recall as far as how long it took a police officer, Roland Jones, to arrive on scene after he was dispatched. Once he had got on scene, he had stated that that Miss Yolanda and Plummer were pointing at Mr. Ralston. Mr. Ralston was trying to elude and leave 2350 Cheshire Bridge. And there was a brief pursuit on foot. So I would say generally not too long after the incident occurred.
All right. Excuse me. During the pursuit on foot, do you know if any, weapons were deployed by the officer?
I believe Mr. Roland Jones deployed his taser
Okay.
at Mr. Ralston. Yeah, but it was ineffective.
Do you know how Mr. or Officer Jones was able to catch up with Mr. Ralston?
Basically on foot. He eventually caught up to him.
Okay. During the, arrest process by Mr. Jones, you had mentioned that he had fell on his hand on direct.
So that's when he had grabbed Mr. Ralston. Mr. Ralston refusing to put his hands behind his back, tussling, standing up. Then they fell. I guess when he fell, he landed on his right hand and damaged and injured it.
So that hand injury is from the fall?
Hand injuries from the fall, resulting in altercating with Mr. Ralston.
All right, wrapping up, just making sure I've got everything I need. Was Mr. Ralston taken into a medical examination after arrest?
Yes, I had to take him to Grady Grady Hospital for medical clearance before transportation to Fulton County Jail.
Do you know of any special results from that Grady examination?
There's no special results. They just cleaned him up, disinfected his small lacerations.
All right. Thank you, officer. Those are all of my questions.
Redirect.
Yes, just very briefly. At one point you said Miss Batten with Mr. Rose, and then you said Miss Yolanda. Is her name Yolanda Batten?
Yeah, Yolanda's the first name. Ms. Banton's going to be the last name.
Okay, and she is the employee at McDonald's?
Correct.
Did she physically describe Mr. Ralston?
Well, when Officer Jones arrived on scene, she pointed at Mr. Ralston saying, "Hey, that's him."
Oh, okay. So she just pointed to
Yes.
him. Okay, nothing further.
Anything else on cross?
One brief moment.
Okay.
No further questions for this officer, Judge.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing further.
Stay safe out there. Enjoy your day off.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead with the argument.
Do you want the defense to go first, Judge?
Whichever you guys want to do.
I'll go first. In regards to count one, criminal damage to property, we've asked the court to find no probable cause. There was no, in any way, assurance that the property in question here was over $500 as legally required for a felony criminal damage to property. The officer himself testified that the range for Samsung Galaxies was $450 to $900. So there is a question about it, Judge. It could be $450. We do not know the model. And, you know, I could leave it at that, Judge. The only thing we know about the phone is that it maybe was manufactured within the past 5 years, but Judge, that still doesn't tell us anything. You know, every year Samsung comes out with different, you know, price points of kind of the same phone. So this could have been a lower economy model phone from 5 years ago, Judge, and it still could be under $500 without any special, I guess, assurance that the phone itself was over $500. I would ask the court to find no probable cause for that charge. Secondly, for the willful obstruction felony charge as well, as the court is probably aware, what distincts it from felony to misdemeanor is an offering of violence. I would argue that there was no violence offered here. The officer's hand injury would have been a result of not any knowing doing or intentional doing of Mr. Ralston's. It just seems that during the process of the arrest, you know, the officer maybe slipped on his foot and fell down. And yeah, you know, Mr. Ralston may have fallen on top of it, but there's no knowing action for that. In regards to, you know, pulling on the belt, grabbing on the vest, as was testified to, I would argue as well that that's not sufficient enough for probable cause for an offering of violence. So I would ask the court to find no probable cause for both charges as listed.
All right. What says the state?
Yes, Your Honor. In addressing the willful obstruction first, the officer did testify to the fact that the defendant pulled on on the other officer's belt, vest. He also indicated the other officer stated that the defendant himself was agitated, and that the result of that wrestling around, trying to effectuate an arrest, ended up with the officer being injured on his hand. And the officer stated that the injury came from Mr. Ralston towards the officer. That is enough to qualify, and the state would ask that you find probable cause for the willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use or threats of violence as a felony for the criminal damage to property in the second degree. While I understand that the officer did not know the specific model, he also stated that he did see the phone. The phone was completely inoperable. It was damaged, had a cracked screen, went black. He said he did look at the range of Samsung Galaxy models and that the base was 450. And while I understand Mr. Rhodes' argument about not having a specific model number, I do think that there is enough to satisfy criminal damage to property. If Your Honor is not inclined to find probable cause as a felony, I still think there's enough for probable cause as a misdemeanor, and as such, the whole charge should not be thrown out or dismissed. State would ask that you find probable cause on both the criminal damage to property and the willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use of threats or violence.
All right, so, sir, I think I'm going to reduce and they could indict it as a felony, but I think I'll reduce the criminal damage to property down to 16,721 criminal trespass. I mean, it definitely met the misdemeanor. They could still indict if they find out is he awake? Oh, okay. It's okay. I couldn't tell if he was looking.
He's looking at the screen and
Oh,
at the
okay.
bottom of the screen.
I looked at it when we were doing, but I couldn't tell. Sorry, sir. You were looking down. I couldn't tell. So they could still indict as a felony, but I'll reduce that to a misdemeanor. And then I find probable cause on the willful obstruction. He's got a $15,000 good bond and pre-trial.
You said 15,000 or 15?
It's 15. So right now, as of April the 15th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the defendant has 47 arrest cycles in Georgia beginning in 1998, felony convictions in 2009 for aggravated assault, 2010 for forgery, 2013 possession of methamphetamine, 2015 aggravated assault, failure to appear in 2001, 2015, 2017, and 2019, probation violations in 2001, 2002, 2011, 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. Nothing further to report.
On the booking sheet, it showed that he had 2 holds, one out of the cab and one had a Brookhaven. Have they been dealt with?
I don't see those in the file. So they probably have been dealt with.
Do you know?
I don't think that they've
Give me 1 second, I can confirm it.
Okay, so one's the cab, one's Brookhaven, which could be like a ticket or something, I guess. Brookhaven, I don't know, but.
Okay, I see that those holds are current holds. So if he's released, he'll go to one of those places.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Ralston is 42 years old. He's been living in Georgia his whole life. In that way, he's not a flight risk. He is stable here. He does have an address that he could go to, that address being on Del Creek Drive in Atlanta. I do have the specific number, should the court inquire. He works as a day laborer. He's been doing that for the past 20 years as a high school graduate. Judge, in regards to bond, he can't afford anything at all. He was effectively homeless at the time. The address that I can give the court is his cousin's address. He's in good communication with his cousin and still may be able to stay there, but effectively, at least at the time, he was homeless, cannot afford bond due to these holds, Judge, as well. He won't, should he bond out, he still would be addressing other matters in DeKalb County. They are active holds. It's my understanding, Judge, that they are for a shoplifting case, I believe, in DeKalb. Judge, we would just ask that the court grant a UJR to the hold for Mr. Ralston and a $5,000 bond in total in the alternative.
All right, go ahead.
I'll consent to the $5,000 bond.
So it's 1,000 on count 1, 4,000 on count 2. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 2350 Cheshire Bridge Road. Northeast, no further contact with Robert Plummer, Plummer. No further contact with Yolanda Batten, Batten. No further contact with Officer Roland Jones unless it's in his official capacity. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment. You have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle once you're released from those holds from DeKalb and Brookhaven. Best of luck to you, sir.
And Judge, to be clear, it's no UGR, it's just a straight $5,000
That's what you said,
bond.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we could do 5,000 or a UJR to those holds. He's got two. So we'll do 5,000, Ms. Hunter, or UJR if they come and get him.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
You got that, Ms. Hunter?
Yes.
Okay. That way, if they come get him, but all those conditions still apply. One less body in the jail.
I'm following your lead.
All right, and we got, let's see, we can bring out. Craig Meissen and take care of that so this lawyer can,
Okay.
Meissen, right, Craig Meissen, number 2. Joseph Craig, sorry, Joseph, I mean, no, that's you, Joseph Craig, but Craig Meissen, got them all, right.
His last name's actually Craig.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's my son, Craig.
Oh,
His name is Myson Craig?
huh, they have it all.
Which threw me off when they first called. They were like, I'm calling for my son, Craig. I'm like, well, what's his last name?
Right, my son.
What is your son's last name?
Well, that's called something in English when a last name sounds like a first name, like the name Harris Todd. It's called something specific in English, and I only remember that.
Or Nelson Rhodes.
Well, no, Nelson sounds like a first name. His name wouldn't be Rhodes.
But I think a lot of people still think it's
Rhodes Nelson.
Not Rhodes Nelson, no.
Oh.
But I think a lot of people tend to call me Mr. Nelson.
I've done it before, just glancing at the calendar real
Yeah,
quick.
but there's,
yeah.
I had a kid in my high school named Harris Todd. And so most people would think would be Todd Harris. And
Right.
there's something in English specifically, which of course I can't
Oh,
remember,
a
when the
word for
names
that.
are like that,
Yeah.
or like two first names.
There's an attorney in our office named Carter Clayton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
always could, I never know.
Yeah.
It messes me up every time.
Yeah. I always have to look at and mark through one of his names to do it right. And then you always get William Williams. I'm like,
Or John Johnson.
right. I'm like, who does that to their poor child?
I swear to God, I know a Thomas Tompkins. And I was like, oh, it's creative. Yeah.
There's a fifth lawyer, who's Tom Thomas.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
And I had a law professor named Richard Richards, and I will just let you
Oh, man.
think to yourself what.
What his nicknames were.
Do you also practice down in Clayton County?
I do.
Did you hear Steve Lister passed away?
I just saw that.
2 days
Yeah.
ago.
Saw Alex posted something on GAC. Alex was posted.
Yeah. Did you know Steve Lister, Mr. Rhodes? Yeah. He was much like me and Judge Newkirk. He was a cop forever before he went to law school. But yeah, 73. Really, I don't know what happened next. His
Yeah,
arrangements.
man, I mean, they did all that indigent defense stuff down there. He was a municipal court judge.
Yeah. Great guy. Great guy. All right. This is 23 CP 217447. So you're listed as Craig Meissen on the calendar and in the bookend, but it's actually Meissen Craig. All right. 72 days without indictment, got possession of firearm by a convicted felon and failure to use a turn signal. There's a UJR split bond with a UJR on failure to use a turn signal and no bond on the possession of a firearm. Go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Your Honor, we will be requesting a reset in terms of the preliminary hearing. However, I do believe Mr. Murphy wanted to be heard on bond. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge. I guess I would say we will object to the reset. I don't know if there's any indication that the officer was subpoenaed and is truly unavailable. I know this has been scheduled for more than a few days. I think there was a mention of a subpoena just going out a couple days ago, but the onus would certainly be on the state to subpoena a witness for this. So we would ask that the court dismiss this and not grant the continuance because the state has not established the unavailability of a witness. That said, if the court is not inclined to do that, I would like to be heard on bond here.
All right, we will give one reset. How long do you need, or how long does your office need, Ms. Patton?
I would say 2 weeks, Your Honor.
Ms. Watts?
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's way better because before I could not hear a word you were saying.
Okay, we can reset it, Judge, to June 29th at 9 a.m.
How's that look on your calendar, Ms. Murphy?
I do not have a conflict that morning.
Okay, June 29th, 9 a.m., but we can still go ahead and be heard on bond. Preach. Position 2.
Okay, position 2, this defendant has 11 arrest cycles in Georgia beginning in 2015. There's a juvenile felony conviction in 2015. 2017, there's a burglary conviction. Probation violation in 2020, 2021, and 2022, and a failure to appear in 2016. Nothing further to report.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
Your Honor, Mr. Craig is 24 years old. He has significant family ties here in Atlanta. His father's here, owns a restaurant here, where he can get out and go to work. He does have an apartment that is listed, the address is listed with the court, that he's available to return to and live in and be gainfully employed. He's had numerous family members, including his girlfriend, his grandmother, and mother, who have all been in contact significantly with my office, who are here to provide him with support. Your Honor, I believe, I don't want to go too deeply into it, but I think what would have been found, or what will come out at the preliminary hearing, is that he was pulled over while driving someone else's car, and there was a firearm potentially under a seat somewhere in the car. He was taken into custody at that time, Your Honor. We think he's a good candidate for bond. He should have a bond, and we would ask that the court set a reasonable bond to this matter.
All right, what says the state?
Your Honor, I just wanted to ask, has he had any other possession of firearm by convicted charges? I didn't hear any, but I wanted to ensure since his felony conviction.
No, I don't see any on the record.
Your Honor, this defendant isn't entitled for bond yet. However, the state will consent to granting a bond. We'll leave it to Your Honor's discretion as to the amount.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Sir, you can't be around weapons. You can't be in the car with somebody who has a weapon. If you were in the car right now with Mr. Murphy and he has a weapon, you can't be in that car. Does that make sense? So $7,500 on count 1 and UJR through the jail on count 2. Best of luck. See you, sir.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Your Honor. May I have counsel for the defendant's first name, please, Counsel Murphy?
Sure, it's Craig, C-R-A-I-G.
Thank you, sir. And counsel for state, ADA Patton, what is your first name, please?
Celeste, Celeste.
All right, thank you, counsels. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
And Patton is Patten, not O-N.
Thank you for that clarification, counsel. Thank you.
No, happens all the time.
All right, we got Darius Barber.
Okay.
Barber. Darius Barber.
Did I give you the one I highlighted? Nope.
No.
Your Honor, can I run to the restroom really quickly?
Sure.
Thanks.
Have a seat right here for me in the middle, sir.
All right. If you raise your right hand, you swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. This is position 123 CP 217442. 72 days without indictment on count of robbery. And there was a pretrial bond surrender on another case that he has. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Where are you currently employed?
Atlanta PD
And how long have you been employed with the Atlanta Police Department?
since 2016.
And were you employed with the Atlanta Police Department on or about March 21st, 2023?
Yes, I was.
Are you post-certified?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you post-certified on or about March 21st, 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how'd you become aware of the defendant?
It was I believe it was my radio day, which means I have to answer up whenever a unit calls for the robbery unit. I believe it was Officer Cleveland in Zone 5 that raises, and she said she currently had a victim at the precinct trying to report a robbery. And I went out there and spoke with the victim.
You went out there. Where did you go?
190 Marietta, where the police precinct the victim walked into.
Okay. So were you already there or did you have to travel there?
Yeah, I traveled.
Okay. And when you got there, who did you meet?
The victim, Mr. David Borgit. David is spelled David. Borgit is Borgeit.
Okay, thank you. And what did Mr. Borgit let you know?
Basically, he stated while he was walking through Woodruff Park, which is in Fulton County, he was approached by an individual. The individual stated that he wanted to use his cell phone. He told him no, and he continued walking through the parks. He got to the end of Woodruff Park, which would put him at the intersection of Peachtree Street and Auburn Avenue.
Is that still in Fulton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The individual, he was tapped on the shoulder by a second individual who stated, "Hey, you have my friend's cell phone." At which time the individual that originally stopped him a little further down in the park, that individual attacked him, threw him to the ground, grabbed his cell phone, and ran away.
Okay, what do you mean attacked him? What does that mean?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he punched him, and I believe there was a kick involved, which got him down to the ground.
Okay. And after he told you this incident occurred, did he ever identify or describe to you what these two individuals look like?
He gave a description, but he couldn't really remember what they were wearing or what they actually looked like. I believe he stated there were two black males.
Okay. Did he state who actually punched him?
I have to check my report for that.
Okay, you can look down at it to refresh your memory, but then testify, and then just please identify to the court what it is you're looking down at.
I'm currently looking at my affidavit. No. I'm good to go.
Okay, so just to refresh your memory, I said, did the victim ever indicate to you who exactly hit him?
I believe he said it was a black male, about 6 feet tall. He was dressed in either dark or all black clothing.
Okay. Did he indicate to you any differences between the two suspects, as in, were they dressed differently? Did they look differently?
Yeah, the other individual, he said, the individual that tapped him on the shoulder a second time and asked if he took the cell phone. He said that individual had on a red hat and a white shirt, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And who actually hit him? Did he indicate?
Yes, he did. The individual that he described as a black male wearing the darker black clothing.
Okay. All righty. So are there any cameras in Woodruff Park?
There are.
Okay.
Well, there are cameras around it, but not in the park itself.
Did any cameras capture this incident?
Yes, ma'am. it
Did you take a look at that footage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what'd you see?
Well, let me go back to where I first tracked him from.
Okay.
I first picked up the victim at the MARTA train station at 5 Points at Peachtree in Wall Street. I tracked him down to Woodruff Park, and I was able to track him to the end of Woodruff Park, which is at the intersection of Peachtree and Auburn.
You were tracking the victims.
Yeah, I'm tracking the victim first.
Okay.
At
Okay.
that
Got
point,
it.
I had a description of what the suspect looked like, but I didn't see him on camera.
Got it.
I got in contact with Georgia State University. They also have cameras in that area,
Mhm.
and they were able to actually provide me with footage of the attack itself. That's when I was able to get a description of both individuals that were involved. I located the suspect, and then I went back to the cameras that I found the victim on, and I was also able to locate the suspect at the MARTA train station. And based on what I saw in the video, the suspect followed the victim, Mr. Borgheat. He followed him from the MARTA train station through the park. Mr. Borgheat stopped to get something to eat at one of the stands. The suspect waited around for, I'd say, at least 6-7 minutes for Mr. Borgheat to complete his transaction with the food vendor. He then approached him, at which is that point, I believe he asked Mr. Borgheat to use his cell phone. And Mr. Borgheat said no and continued walking through the park. I have footage of him following him through the park, and the footage of Georgia State University actually shows the attack where the individual tapped him on the shoulder. Mr. Borgheat turns around, and then he's attacked by the suspect.
Okay. So let's go back here. You're watching footage from the I think you said 5 Points MARTA station.
Correct.
You see the victim.
Correct.
In that footage, you also see the suspect, but at the time you didn't realize that's who it was.
Correct.
Okay. So you said that they were walking along, and I think you said the victim stopped to get food.
Correct. He
Okay.
stopped in Woodruff Arts at one of the little kiosks that sell food.
And where was the suspect at that time?
He was in the park, I'd say about a couple 100 feet away from Mr. Borgheat. And based on the video, it seemed like he was checking him out to see what he was doing or what he had in his hand.
Watching him.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay. So then you said the victim then goes into Woodruff Park. And where is the suspect at that point?
Well, he follows him through the park until they get to the other end.
Do you see how far apart they are in distance?
I'd say no more than 100 feet away from him,
Okay.
behind him.
Is this video you're watching, is it in color?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there audio?
No audio.
Okay. But it is in color.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said then the victim, you saw him, I guess, come out to, I think you said it's the intersection of Auburn Ave and
Peachtree Street?
Peachtree.
Yeah.
Where was the suspect at that time?
He was a few feet behind him.
Okay. And so then an individual taps the victim on the shoulder, and this is a different individual from the person following.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me just, while Mr. Borgheat was standing at that intersection, well, not the intersection, on Auburn Street, the other end of Woodruff Park, the suspect actually goes up and he speaks with the individual. I believe he tells him, hey, that guy has my phone.
Speaks with which individual?
The second individual with the red hat.
Got it. Okay.
That's why he tapped Mr. Borgheat on the shoulder saying, hey, do you have his cell phone?
Okay. And then what happens?
And then the suspect attacks Mr. Borgheat, punches him a few times, kicks him. Mr. Borgheat falls on the ground. The suspect takes his cell phone and he runs back through Woodruff Park going towards, what is this? Edgewood?
The person with the red hat, does he intervene at all? Does he harm the victim in any way?
Based on what no, he never did anything to the victim besides tapping him on the shoulder, saying he had the suspect's cell phone.
Okay. Does he offer any violence towards the victim?
No, he did not.
Okay. Did he offer any violence towards the suspect?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever speak to the individual in the red cap?
I was never able to track him down in the park.
Okay, understood. When you were watching the footage, did you get a clear picture of the suspect?
I did.
Okay. Would you recognize him?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he in the courtroom presently?
Yes, ma'am.
You can feel free to stand if you need to. Please identify if he's on my left or on my right and identify him with an article of clothing.
He's on your right. He's currently wearing a Fulton County, navy blue Fulton County uniform with a white undershirt.
Please let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, Mr. Barber.
Okay, the record will reflect.
Okay, so on the footage, you said you saw Mr. Barber hit the victim. Was that with a closed fist?
It wasn't clear enough for me to see if it was with a closed fist, but based on Mr. Borghi's statement, he did get punched.
Okay, and you stated they fell to the ground. Did they fall to the ground or did just Mr.
Borghi fell to the ground?
Okay, and then what?
The suspect, I believe, ripped the cell phone out of his hand.
Out of Mr. Borghi's hand?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see that on the footage?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did Mr. Borghi at any time tell you that he had given anyone else permission to have his cell phone?
No, he did not.
Did he tell you that this was Mr. Barber's cell phone?
He never indicated that.
Did he, do you know if it was an iPhone or an Android?
It was an iPhone.
Okay. Did he have tracking on it?
I believe he did, but that day he wasn't able to track it because he needed to log in and all that, and the two-step verification. He wasn't able to track it that day.
Okay. So he attempted to, he just wasn't able to. Yeah. Okay. After on the video, when you see Mr. Barber take the victim's phone, did he say anything? Did he threaten him? Did he say anything, or there was no audio?
There was no audio.
Okay. Did he hit him again?
No, after he grabbed the phone, he just ran back to where he came from originally.
Did you track where he went on the camera footage?
I lose him as soon as he gets down to Edgewood. I don't have any more footage of him after Edgewood.
Okay. Did you check the time of the footage on the cameras, or was there timestamps on the camera footage?
There should have been timestamps.
Okay. And did those times match with about when the victim was telling you this occurred?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
And did you ever at any time speak to Mr. Barber regarding the incident?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He basically said, if I could check my report real quick.
Yeah, you can look at it, you just can't read from it. Okay.
He said the white man took my phone and he was trying to get it back. And that's what Mr. Barber said while he was in the interview room with me.
Did he tell you when this alleged incident occurred?
No, but he was aware of what we were talking about.
Okay. What I mean is, he said the white man took my phone. Did he say when that happened?
No.
Did he tell you any details about that alleged incident?
No, no.
Did he tell you, other than a race description, of what this alleged person who took his phone looked like?
No, no.
Did you ask him what type of phone it was that he was allegedly missing?
Did I ask Mr. Barber what phone?
Yeah.
No, ma'am. I did
Okay.
not.
Did you execute the arrest on Mr. Barber?
I did.
Did you read him his Miranda warnings?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When you were talking, I know you said the victim came to the precinct, but were you wearing body cam at that time?
Yes, I was.
Did you upload or submit that footage for evidence?
It was safe to evidence. I kind yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you speak to, I know you said you obtained the footage from Georgia State.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you speak to any of those officers regarding the incident?
Based on Mr. Borgeet's statement, after the incident happened in the park, he did he contacted 2 or 3 MARTA officers that work at the 5 Points MARTA station. But at that time, they tried to give him help, but he got upset and just walked to the precinct.
The victim?
Yes, Mr. Borgeet.
Okay, so he initially tried to talk to officers there, got frustrated, and then just went to the precinct.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever talk to any of those officers?
I did.
And what did they tell you that he had said?
They said he approached them at the 5 Points MARTA station. He started explaining what occurred. When they tried to help him, again, he became agitated because based on what they said, he felt like they weren't helping him enough. So he went to the precinct instead.
Okay. When you met Mr. Borgeet, what was his demeanor?
He was calm at first, but he got upset later on.
What was he upset at?
Because the individual took his phone and he wasn't really comfortable answering the questions that I was asking him.
Okay. What questions were you asking him?
Asked him why he was down at Woodruff Park, because I believe he lives at 620 Peachtree Street, which is, I'd say about 4 miles away from where he was. He said he got off at that train station because it was a nice day outside and he wanted to get a little exercise in and walk home from the train station.
Okay. You've charged Mr. Barber with robbery. What was your probable cause basis for that charge?
He used force and took Mr. Borgeet's cell phone without Mr. Borgeet giving him the authority to do so.
And by force, what do you mean?
He punched and kicked Mr. Borgeet.
Remind me, I know I've already asked you, how long have you been an officer?
Since 2016.
Okay. And how many robberies would you say you've dealt with? Over 20?
I'd just say yes, yeah.
Over 50?
It might be in the low 40s right now.
Low 40s about now, okay. So in your training and experience, would you say that hands and feet can be used offensively to harm someone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did Mr. Borgeet have any injuries to him?
Believe he just had some scratches and bruises on his extremities.
Okay.
Nothing that required medical attention.
Is there anything else you learned during your investigation that we've not covered here today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Good morning, officer.
How are you?
Okay. So you were alerted to this incident via a radio call from the precinct?
Correct.
And this would have been from the precinct where Mr. Borgeet went into and reported a robbery.
Correct.
All right. Were you the only officer that investigated?
Yes, I was.
All right. As part of your investigation, where did you report first?
You say where did I report for? What?
Yeah, where did you go first?
To the precinct to speak with Mr. Borgeet.
Okay. So you spoke with Mr. Borgeet first, and he had mentioned that two people were involved in the incident?
Correct, that's what you stated.
Okay. Did Mr. Borgheat mention any prior knowledge of either of these people?
No.
All right, so he reported this happened in Woodruff Park, right?
Yes, sir.
Close to the Auburn Avenue side of things.
Correct.
You were never able to speak with the gentleman with the white, or it was red cap,
Red
right?
hat, correct. I wasn't able to track him down in Woodruff Park.
Okay. While you're at the precinct, was it there that you observed surveillance footage of the area?
No, I went back to the office, got behind my computer and reviewed our Fuse's cameras.
I didn't hear you. Reviewed whose cameras?
Fuse's cameras, which is a surveillance system that the city uses to monitor cameras within the city limits.
Okay. And again, that camera footage had no audio.
No audio.
After you reviewed the footage, did you report back to that precinct?
Well, the 190 Marietta precinct?
Yes.
No, I don't have to go back to the precinct.
Okay. Where actually did you ultimately find the suspect?
He was outside the 5 Points MARTA station. He was on the Peachtree side, closer to Wall Street.
How were you able to find him there?
I went down to review MARTA footage, and when I walk into their precinct, they pull up the cameras I was trying to look at. And I was like, hey, that's my suspect. And he was able to tell me, hey, that's a live feed. So I went out and he was still standing in the same general area he was when we saw him on the camera.
I had a question. By that time, was Mr. Borgheat present to observe the suspect again? So he was already just kind of, let go. Not that he was detained, but he wasn't a part of this investigation.
No, he
afterwards.
was not.
Did Mr. Barber, the suspect here, have a cell phone on him?
He had several cell phones, but he didn't have my victim's cell phone. All the cell phones he had on his person were Androids.
And about what time did the robbery actually occur?
If I can just check the report real quick.
Okay.
All right, one moment.
Yes.
So
Hold on.
Okay, all right. Sure. Officer, you can step off or something.
This is fun.
Excuse me, Your Honor, while we're waiting, may I get the correct spelling of the officer's name for the record, please?
Can you repeat your question?
I'm sorry, officer, would you for the record for me, please?
First name is Dwayne, D-W-A-Y-N-E. Last name is DeYoung, D-E, capital J-O-N-G-E.
Thank you, officer. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna pause for a few minutes.